Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom. This is Will Yah or Will Carter, One Vision Ministry. Today I'm going to talk on the Will of Yah. I'm going to ramble a little bit, of course, but just give some of my thoughts and perspectives. So, Abba Yah, I thank you for the Shabbat. I thank you for this opportunity to bring forth your word. May I minister according to your purposes and will and do what you desire and not my own desire. May I go forth in your authority as your representative and magnify and glory your name. Hallelujah. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is start off right away. And I'm going to go to Yeshua or Isaiah 45 and set some of the premise of what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start right there, get there quick. And so let me share my screen and get it going. There we go. All right. So here in Yeshua or Isaiah 45, we'll start at verse 5. It says, I am Yahuwah. There is none else. There is no Elohim besides me. He's not sharing his position. He's not um, sharing his authority or, he does kind of share his authority, but no one sits at his level. He has no equal. Says, I gird you, though you have not known me, so that they know from the rising of the sun to its setting that there is none but me. I am Yahuwah, and there is none else. This talk right here is actually going to Cyrus or Koresh, but anyway, it says forming light and creating darkness. This is where I'm going. He forms light and creates darkness, making peace and creating evil. He's not evil, but he creates evil. I am Yahuwah. Or it says, I, Yahuwah, excuse me, not I am. I, Yahuwah, do all these. Okay. Let's go to my next one to set the stage. Vivid bar or Numbers 23. And I'm going down to 19. And it says, El is not a man to lie, nor a son of man to repent. He has he said, and would he not do it, or spoken and would not confirm it? And of course, I wanted to do the parallel just so that El means, or people use this term to talk about Yah. It's not a man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should repent. Just wanted to make that clear. Now I'm gonna go over here to where I want to start at. So here it goes. I'm going to Bereshit or Genesis 1. And we're talking about the will of Yah, his will. And it says, Elohim saw the light that it was good, creates good as well as the evil. But it said, and Elohim separated the light from the darkness. So the good, which he called light from the darkness. I'm not calling darkness evil, but he made a point to separate the light from the darkness and made a point to call the light good. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So there are two separate things. Yes, they are connected to one another, but they are officially made two separate things right here. And there came to be evening. So notice he was doing stuff, and there came to be evening. It was light. He separated the light from the darkness, and there came to be evening. Most of us know at evening it starts to get dark. He said he separated the light from the dark, and there came to be evening. So he was doing stuff, and there came to be evening. Don't see nothing being done after that. So from the period of evening, and then there came to be morning. From the period of evening to morning, you don't see anything listed. One day. So some people try to say that evening to evening is one day, but no, it's saying that there came to be morning. So morning, once morning came, one day. The next day starts again because he starts doing stuff again. And Elohim said, so one day that day stopped right when morning hit. The previous day with all of the stuff there where he separated the light from the darkness, boom. And then there came morning, one day. Many want to read this and try to make it evening to evening, but it clearly says, and then there came morning. It didn't say it went through the whole process of morning. Morning came, and it said, and there came morning. Boom, stop. One day. It's right there, but can't get that through to some people. Said, morning was basically the mark of the conclusion of the previous day. He began after that to be doing current work, which, right here says, and Elohim said, so he started doing new work because it was a new day. That's not my focus, but I'm just wanting to show his will. That's what was his will. So now let's go down to verse 12. And the earth brought forth grass, the plant, and the plant that yields seed according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself according to its kind. And according to his kind, and Elohim saw that it was good. Something else he's labeling as good. And there came to be evening. He stopped. And there came to be morning, third day. Another day, so when the morning hit, third day. So now let's keep going. I'm gonna skip down. Skipping down to 20, because I just got through dealing with the vegetation or the growing things that are not man and not beast. And it says here in verse 20, it says, and Elohim said, let the waters teem with shoals of living beings, fish, ocean aquarium type things, and let birds fly above the earth on the face of the expanse of the heavens. Hmm. And Elohim created great sea creatures and every living being that moves, which with which the waters teemed, according to their kind, and every winged bird according to his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim blessed them, saying, this is key, be fruitful and increase, or multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, the fifth day. Now, the animals were made, and of course, animals are just like humans in the sense that they are created male and female. Nowhere does it say one male to one female. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. But of course, they were created to be fruitful and multiply, and they were on earth before man. I would say the green or the vegetation was made as food for all the flesh, even the animals, as well as mankind. What's the initial and original intent? I don't believe the animals were eating one another in the beginning. There was no death. Original intent. A lot of people like to push original intent, but they ignore that you can't really push original intent without eliminating that things happened and that Yah knows the end from the beginning. But let's continue. Let's continue. Let me see. I said, I'm looking at my notes. It says, the vegetation, the animals perceived mankind in order, yet they were made for man. So that, a lot of people like to put order in the mix. The vegetation is not greater than man. The animals are not greater than man. They were actually made for man, but they were actually put in place before man. He didn't arrive on earth or he didn't get created in lack. He already had what he needed. See, we need the animals. We need the vegetation. They actually need us too, but the order, the priority, we are the more greater priority, even though we were not created first. Let's keep going. Let me go back over here. I'm gonna go down to verse 26. And it says, and Elohim said, let us make man in our image. Our image. Our image. Let us make man in our image. Elohim is a spirit. An image is something physical, is something visible. Is a spirit? Just a question. According to our likeness. Okay. Does a spirit have a likeness? Hmm. And let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth. So over all of the creatures, as well as the vegetation, and over all the creeping creatures that creep on the ground. So everything, everything. They're ruling over everything. Let's keep going. And Elohim created the man in his image, in the image of Elohim, he created him, male and female, he created them. Now, in the creation story, most know that man was alone for himself, or by himself, or one being that possessed both inside, but one being, and his being did not have a help me or someone comparable. But let's keep going. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. And Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said to them, "Be fruitful and increase. Be fruitful and increase, and fill the earth and subdue it." So that means they had to procreate and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over all the creeping creatures of the earth. They're supposed to rule over all these things. Hmm. And Elohim said, see, I have given you every plant that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed to you, for it is food. To you it is for food. So that was original intent. Fruits and vegetables and stuff like that was supposed to be our food, as well as the animals' food. And every beast of the field, and every bird of the heavens, and every creeping creature of the earth, in which there is living being, every green plant is for food. And it came to be so. So this is the original setup. No argument there. And Elohim saw all that he had made, and see, it was very good. It was good. And there came to be evening again, and there came to be morning. The conclusion of evening comes to morning. When morning comes, that's when the day ends. Then the sixth day. Many still will disagree with that. That's fine. So I'm going to just ask this question. If it's evening to evening, why isn't it speaking of evening before it says the day? It says it gets to the morning. It goes evening to morning. Because evening to morning by itself is not a whole day, and that's not the daytime. Evening to morning is actually what would be considered night or dark time, because at evening it starts getting dark and it does not start getting light again until it gets to morning. You know, and that period of time is mostly dark, majority dark. And he said he separated the day from the night, his will. So let's keep going. I'm gonna move forward, and I'm going to go to Bereshit 2. Keep going here. Share the screen. So as I get over here to Bereshit 2, we'll lay some stuff down here. I'm gonna start here at 15. And it says, and Yahweh Elohim took the man, this is when he was by himself, and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and to guard it. And Elohim commanded the man, saying, eat of every tree of the garden. So he gave him instruction, he gave him command. And the man up to this point was obedient, very obedient. He was given work, he was told to guard, he was doing those things. See nowhere that it says anything about sacrifice, because at this time he was obedient. Let me keep going. But do not eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. He had only mentioned good in the days, but now he's mentioning evil. For in that day you eat of it, you shall certainly die. Our thoughts of death or die means, go away right then. I contend that die here means to be separated from the Father or from Yahuwah. It says, and Yahuwah Elohim said, it is not good. Now he kept saying about what was good, but now he's saying what's not good for man to be alone. So man was alone at a time. It was just man. And I'm going to make a helper for him as his counterpart. Not as equal, but a counterpart. You know, if you have something that's half of something, you put the other part of it, it completes it. But they're not exactly the same, but they complement one another. One fills the void, the other one leaves, and vice versa. In my marriage ritual, whatever, though it was during my secular time, or I ain't gonna say secular, I was a Christian. My pagan or Christian time, I don't know. I don't want to insult Christians in this moment. That's not my focus. I was given a grape juice. She drank the beginning part, and it was my duty to finish the rest. We complete each other, counterpart. And from the ground, Yahuwah Elohim formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. Now remember, the birds and the beasts were already here before man was. But now Yah is bringing them before them because, again, he was made to be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion. Or the man and the woman, be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion. So now he's giving the access to these things for him to name them. And whatever the man called each living being, that was his name. This is before he was given his helper. So man had did all of these things before he was given his helper. Keep going. So the man gave names to all livestock and to all the birds of the heavens and to every beast of the field. But the man, there was not found a helper for him as his counterpart. So see how the man had organized and got things together before his wife was presented to him. That's how the will is supposed to be. A man is supposed to get things in order before he takes on a wife. Of course, we know that's not how it's been happening, but that is his will, that a man get things in order before he gets a wife. Let me keep going. So Yahuwah Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall on the man, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. And the rib which Yahuwah Elohim had taken from the man, he made into a woman or a womb man, because your rib is by your womb. Men don't have wombs, but that would be where the womb part of a woman is. And so a womb man, a woman. And he brought her to the man. And the man said, "This is now bone of my bones, brought from the rib, and flesh of my flesh. This one is called woman, because she was taken out of man. For this cause, a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife." He cleaving to his wife. But here's the key point that people try to use in a lot of their discussions. And they shall become one flesh. How do you become one flesh? Cleaving to your wife? No. You become one flesh during intimacy, when you know your wife and you're having sex. So some people try to use this to void out polygyny. When a man becomes one or connects with a woman, the plug goes into the socket. They become one flesh at that moment. A man can do that with multiple different women, become one flesh at that moment, because that is what's necessary to consummate. That's what's necessary to make a baby. If you can take the seed, I guess, but that's the proper way. Connecting the plug into the socket. Does not say that he can only do one or whatever, because again, what preceded man? Animals and vegetation. When a tree drops a seed, do you just plant it just in one ground, or do you plant it in multiple grounds? Still that one tree, but you plant it in multiple grounds. The animals, what do they do? But again, people want to push doctrine and say that this is how it originally was, original will, because it was first Adam and Eve. But of course, they ignore what happens afterwards, because there's a lot of things in the original intent. By the biblical narrative, Adam's children were with Adam's children, sons with the daughters, if you go with the original intent. Unless you want to bring in people that the Bible never speaks of and say, okay, this is what happened or possibly happened, and now you're adding something that's not stated. How can you have one part of original intent but ignore others? Because also, as we keep going forward, you say, and they were both naked. So that would be an original intent too. The man and his wife, yet they were not ashamed. We're not naked. We don't. We don't operate nude. I got clothing on, you know. Let me see. Mm, see, so I got clothing on, you know. You got whoever's listening to this likely got clothing on. Not naked, but you know, by the logic of you know, the one man is to be one woman, you know, why does that not translate with the other creations? The trees, you know, that we transplant the seeds, you know, we plant seeds. You may have some from the same tree or whatever. You may plant some in your yard. I may plant some in my yard, different grounds. Get produce from that. You know, when you go to some of these garden places and they selling seeds probably from the same plant, but those seeds leave there and go into multiple different people's homes. So it came from one tree or one vine or whatever, but yet multiple different grounds. Look at the animal kingdom. You know, we always you know, call ourselves Yahuda or lions and stuff like that, and you see that the king lion has multiple female lions. He's basically the only one that really gets to produce, you know, most of the time. Yeah. Okay. All right. See, the animals are also male and female. So is this their standard as well? One male to one female only? Just a question. Also notice that they were originally naked, which is anything other than why is anything other than nakedness viewed acceptable if Yah's original will is the proposed standard. So that's in my notes. Let me go over here and keep continue. I'm going over here to Bereshit 3 or Genesis 3. Let me get to sharing my screen here. You know, this is not about polygyny or whatever, but I just want to, you know, his will. You know, I'm talking about his will, so I had to put that in there. You know, I didn't have to, but I wanted to. So, all right, let's continue. And no, I'm not one seeking polygyny myself. So again, people try to put that on me just because try to teach the truth and try to teach what's really in the book and not from my own personal desires because I don't desire it. Okay, Bereshit or Genesis 3, starting off here at 7 or what's called 7. It says, then the eyes of both of them were open. So this is after they ate whatever fruit or whatever it was off the tree, they ate. And they knew that they were naked. They were, as they were originally intended, naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made loin coverings for themselves. So they covered their private areas with leaves. So they covered themselves. So if if clothing was a necessity, they made their own clothing. If clothing is a necessity, they made their own clothing. They were covered because they were initially naked. They were originally naked, if that was his will, and they made their own clothing. And they heard the voice of Yahuwah Elohim walking about in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah Elohim among the trees of the garden. So they hid from the presence of Yahuwah Elohim. And Yahuwah Elohim called unto Adam and said to him, where are you? Again, we're going with the original. Eve was the one that first presented this thing, but yet calling on Adam. Why? Who was his relationship with originally? Adam. We only do original and say his will. Original, he was talking with Adam, so now he's holding Adam responsible. He called it to Adam. And he said, I heard your voice in the garden and was afraid because I was naked. Again, because I was doing what I was originally intended to be, being naked. So I hid myself. He was uncomfortable now being naked. And he said, who made you know that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree of which commanded you that you should not eat? Were you disobedient to me? Is basically what he's asking. He had been otherwise obedient. Many want to blame the woman, but of course, the woman was tricked. The man willfully knew because he was right there with her. He knew what Yah had told him. He was the one that the commandment was given to before his counterpart was presented to him. So he made a willful choice. He went against the original will of Yah to obey. All right, so let's keep going. I'm going to go down here to 21, skipping down. And it says, and Elohim made coats of skin. They had made their own fig leaves. So how you gonna make coats of skin? What did he make it out of? Something had to die for him to get coats of skin. Well, of course, Yah could have made it out of the air. Yeah, we can say that, but no, something died here for the man and for his wife and dressed them. Because just they made fig leaves if it was good enough or well enough or whatever to use only vegetation, they fig leaves should have did enough, or he could have made them something else out of vegetation. But no, he used coats of skin, animal. He used animal. Original will, we had heard nothing about nothing dying. We had nothing in the beginning stages. We heard nothing of anything dying. He said, only thing when you disobey me, that's when something's gonna die. And it was supposed to be Adam died, but you see in his coat of skin, something died. They already had covered themselves with leaves. Yet Yah covered them with the skins of animals. To this time, you hear nothing about offering and sacrifice. Nothing. Disobedience comes into play, and now you got offering and sacrifice. His will is for us to be obedient. If you want to go to the original will, obedience is greater than sacrifice. But so many people push sacrifice, sacrifice, or Mashiach, Mashiach, which I am not pushing anything against the Mashiach. But if you have obedience, if we are in line, we don't need a savior. If you're already in the proper position, what do you need to be saved from? Simple question. Okay, my thoughts are we heard nothing about sacrifice prior to this because there was only obedience, which is greater than sacrifice. No life was required to cover man prior to disobedience. No animal, nothing was required. Nothing. So, I'm gonna keep reading my notes. It says Yahuwah had established one man in Adam to set forth his dominion on of earth, which is one realm of his kingdom, which in heaven, the Shamayim, he sits on his throne. Yah sits on his throne in heaven, and he wanted a man to sit on the throne on earth, basically to be his image, to establish what he established. And so that's what the image is. It's not that he was made exactly like, people say, oh, physical form. No, Yah rules his kingdom in heaven. He wanted a man to rule his kingdom on earth. It's still Yah's kingdom, but the man would have dominion. He's supposed to be fruitful, so he's supposed to fill it up and have dominion. But this one man's disobedience, did it alter Yahuwah's will? No. Yahuwah still wants to establish his dominion on earth. You know, what the model prayer. What does Yahushua say? Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Yeah. You know, that's always been the goal. That's the original will. We want to put all of these other things and make them to be more priority. Oh, one man, one woman to be priority. It's not. Hey, that would be perfect. But of course, the first man and first woman were not perfect. Be fruitful and multiply was actually one of the very first commands. It was given to the vegetation as well as the animals before it was given to man. So that had more weight. So what do you do now as a man if your woman is barren? Oh, I ain't gonna obey Yah on that. Or okay, take up the writings of Shual, who said he had no interest in being married. If majority men took up that position, then what? Where's population going? How are you going to multiply and have dominion like he tell you if you decide now you're not interested in connecting with a woman? Make it make sense. All right. All right, let me see. This man's one disobedience did not alter Yahweh's will, yet many seem to believe that conditions changing changed the expected output. The consistent theme was to obey, to be fruitful and multiply, and to establish dominion. Better yet, establish the kingdom of Yah on earth. Notice, excuse me, notice that no flesh had died, and nakedness was the original state of man. This is how he was introduced. Thus, no sacrifice was mentioned. Yet Yahuwah, after disobedience, entered. Yet Yahuwah, after disobedience, it entered in a requirement of sacrifice. Let's go forward. We're gonna look at it. Children of Adam and Eve. Let's go. Let's go. Children of Adam and Eve. We still gonna stay. We stand in Bereshit. And before I even go there, I want to point out something too, because we have a lot of discussion on this as well, and so I just want to point out one verse to start off that kind of say, do you believe the Bible or not? Bereshit or Genesis 4. It says, and Adam knew Hawa, and most of y'all would know Hawa as Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain or Cain. Again, I'm gonna read it again. And Adam knew Hawa, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain. One more time. And Adam knew Hawa, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, I have gained a man, Yahuwah. Many teach this doctrine that Cain is the seed of the Nahash or the serpent. That would contradict what that verse is saying. I don't know, but I know what I'm reading. And bro, what I just read says that Adam knew his wife. She didn't say anything about the Nahash knowing the wife. I get it. This is a doctrine that many have taught, and they say other books speak of it, but this is not what is right here in this Torah. It says Adam knew Hawa, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain. Saying Cain is Adam and Eve's son. That's what it says. All right. Because many modern people keep teaching it, that product of the Nahash, and it's like, man, that text right there says a lot. But okay, I'm gonna keep going. All right. And again, she gave birth to his brother Abel, and Abel became a keeper of sheep, but Cain became a tiller of ground. So again, husband and wife knew each other, were intimate with each other, and she gave birth to another son. It's saying that both of these children were their sons. And so when I was talking about Adam earlier, other books say that they had daughters. You know, this doesn't this doesn't say it. So sometimes you end up having to play with the other books. But when it contradicts what it's saying here, I have an issue. So to say that it says right there that the child was Adam and Eve, and to say now it's something else, that's a contradiction. Saying that they had daughters, though, it doesn't not say they didn't. So that's not really a contradiction. But again, let me keep going. And it came to be in the course of time that Cain brought an offering of fruit of the ground to Yahuwah. Why are they bringing an offering in the first place? It's obvious they were required to bring one. Does it say that? No. But he's bringing forth an offering. He brought his of the ground. Some people will try to say, oh, he picked it off the ground, but that ain't what it said. This is coming from the vegetation. So it comes from the trees, or it's something that's produced from the ground. It's vegetation. That's all it's saying. But Abel brought forth of the firstborn of his flock. So he's coming dealing with animals and of the fat, their fat. And Yahuwah looked to Abel and his offering. Yahuwah looked to Abel and his offering. Cain's offering, he didn't look to that. But he did not look to Cain's and his offering. And Cain was very wroth. He was angry. And his face fell. I don't know. I wasn't there to know what Yah asked him to bring. But it's obvious that Cain's wasn't pleasing to him and Abel's was. Again, he brought an animal. What happened with Adam and Eve or Havah? When they disobeyed, they had to be covered with the skin of an animal. Something had to die to cover their nakedness. Right now, an offering is required. It needs something to cover the nakedness. It has to be an animal. It can't be like those fig leaves that they made for themselves, which would be of the ground. It has to be an animal. Again, my perspective, not trying to force it on nobody, but that's what I see. So let me keep on going here. I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit. So I'm gonna go over here to Shemot or Exodus 19 and start off with verse 3. And Moshe went up to Elohim, and Yahuwah called to him from the mountain, saying, this is what you are to say to the house of Yaakov, and declare to the children of Israel. The house of Yaakov is Israel. That would be his 12 sons. It would be him and his 12 sons. His wives, all that would be his house. You have seen what I did to the Mizrahites, Egyptians, land of the people that were in the land of bondage, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself, set him apart to himself. And now, if you did diligently obey, again, this is his will that we obey. So if they obey my voice and shall guard my covenant, his instructions, his word, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples. So I'm gonna set you above all people. Remember, his goal was to have his dominion established on earth, for his people to be fruitful and multiply and have dominion of the earth. So he's telling this group of people that he wants them to be his treasured possession above all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. So he wants dominion over all the earth because it all belongs to him. And you shall be to me a reign. What does reign connect to? A kingdom, but a reign of priests and a set apart nation. Because Yah's going to be the king, he's going to be the ruler, but he wants those that are in his image or representative to establish his dominion on earth. So you're going to be a reign of priests and a set apart nation. Those are the words which you are to speak to who? The children of Israel. This is not to everybody. The dynamic of any type of order situation is you uh, have a head and then the rest that fall under. I've already given you the example that Adam was supposed to be the head over Eve, and she was his counterpart. She was supposed to help him. So all the other nations are supposed to help Israel. Not saying that we're supposed to, I guess, when you hear dominion, sometimes you think dominate. And when you hear dominate, you think, basically sometimes people think abuse and stuff like that. But no, that's not how Yah deals with us because he has dominion over us. He had dominion over Adam, so he gave him the earth to maintain. He has dominion over Israel, so he's giving us the rest of the peoples to maintain. He gave the husband is to maintain the wife, take care of. It's giving responsibility. But all right, let me keep going. It says, I say my notes again. I contend that this was always Yahweh's plan and will to establish his reign through one man, yet with 12 pillars. One man, 12 pillars. 12, I guess, supports or structure, pillars. Yakub is 12 sons. The Levites and the 12 tribes. The Levites, actually was one of the original 12s or whatever, but, then they were set apart. And now Joseph, you had to separate him into two. And so now you still have 12 tribes. A person can count that as 13, but no, you have one that's set apart and the other. And so now when you look at that dynamic, that same dynamic is how we are supposed to be as the priests. Levites were given examples to the rest of the tribe how they all were supposed to be towards the whole peoples of the earth. Yah always gives provision or shows us his will and gives us the means of, basically walking it out. He gives you an example or he puts you in a position to be the example for how it's supposed to be. But let me see. I'm back to my notes. I say those 12 pillars having two representatives each. When they went into the lands and stuff, they went by twos. Separated in 12 and they went by twos when they went into to spy out the land. So two 12s is 24. It's always been a dynamic in leadership of the 12, but represented by two, so 24. All right. He uses the Levites to give example to the other tribes of Yasharal or Israel, one always over the 12. And the kingdom is such with Yahuwah. Thus, the earth will have Mashiach rule a kingdom with 12 gates, as is in heaven. So you always will have 12, but those 12 would have two. Just like male and female become one, those two would represent one, but yet, it's still 12, 12 gates. So you would get 24 out of it, what you would see, but that's one gate. Hopefully I'm not confusing anybody. Let me move forward so I can give a further example. Just a little bit. Let me see. I'm going over the Hazon or Revelations and stuff. I know some people don't accept the Brit Hadashah, so but I'm gonna go there and then I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna even hit off something in the Tanakh so that you will have another representative or example. So, all right, here's Hazon or Revelations 4, and I'm gonna go 2 through 8. And it says, and immediately I came to be in the Ruach or spirit, and saw a throne set in the heaven, and one sat on the throne. One, not two. I know that it said Yahusha is on the right hand side, but that's still it's only one throne. He can be on the right. I'm never knocking that because I agree with that. But it's only one on the throne, and that's Yahuwah. He don't share his throne with nobody. Not the way that people put it out there, because these leaders are they on thrones too, but their thrones are beneath. These leaders even throw their crowns at his feet because they're worshiping him. But anyway, that's not where I'm going. And immediately I came to be in the Ruach and saw a throne and it set in the heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he who sat there was like a jasper and a ruby stone in appearance. If you got time, look up a jasper and a ruby stone in appearance. Look at it. They are brown, melanin color. Yes. And there was a rainbow around the throne, like an emerald appearance. And see, the rainbow marks the authority of Yah. It does not set for alphabets or stuff like that. It don't have nothing to do with none of these groups on the earth that are doing things that's contrary to his will. It marks his authority. He's used that rainbow to mark his destruction of earth once, but again, let me keep going. And around the throne were 24 thrones. Again, here's where I'm saying his throne is set apart, but he got around it 24 thrones. And on the thrones, I saw 24 elders sitting, dressed in white robes, and they had crowns of gold on their heads. And out of the throne came lightnings, and thunders, and voices, and 7 lamps of fire were burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits or ruachs of Elohim. And before the throne there was a sea of glass like crystal. In the midst of the throne and around the throne were 4 living creatures, covered with eyes in the front and in the back. And the first living creature was like a lion, and the second living creature was like a calf, and the third living creature had a face like a man, and the fourth living creature was like a flying eagle. And 4 living creatures, each having 6 wings, were covered with eyes around and within, and they do not cease day and night, saying, Set apart, set apart, set apart, Yahuwah El Shaddai. Now, let me just hit something here. 4 living creatures, four, each having 6 wings. How many wings is that in total? Four times six, 24. Talked about the number 12, number 24. And but you got 24 wings. But anyway, that's just rabbit trail. So let me keep going. All right. Now I have an addendum or whatever, and something I want to add. I mentioned it earlier. So I'm gonna go over here and show something that it's in the Tanakh, to support the leadership of 24. So, going to Debris Hayamin or Aleph, which is First Chronicles 24, starting at verse 7, going down to 20. It says, And the first lot came forth to Yahoyarib, the second to Yadiah, and the third to Haram, and the fourth to Seorim, and the fifth to Malchiah, and the sixth to Mayamin. Now, I just want to pause here. A lot of times when we start seeing stuff like this, where it's just reading off names, it's easy to disconnect. These names are hard to read for us in this English language. We're not accustomed to them. And it just seemed like it's just rattling off just useless information. But this is where we need to slow down. And I'm going to start over again because we need to actually hear what this is saying. But because it seems to be just a congestion of just, one, first, third, second, third, and these hard names to pronounce, most people probably just ramble through it and don't connect it to what it's saying. So again, and the first lot came forth for Yahoyarib, the second to Yediah, the third to Haram, the fourth to Seorim, the fifth to Malchiah, the sixth to Mayamin, the seventh to Hakuz, the eighth to Abiah, the ninth to Yeshua, the 10th to Shechaniah, Nayu, Shechaniah, yeah, Shechaniahu, the 11th to Elashib, Elashib. See, again, hard to read. So some of them, you'll just fly through it. And the 12th to Yakim. So that's 12. And 13th to Hupa. The 14th to Yeshabad. The 15th to Bilgah. The 16th to Immer. The 17th to Hezer. The 18th to Hapisses. The 19th to Pethahiah. The 20th to Yehezkel. The 21st to Yakin. The 22nd to Gamul. The 23rd to Deleyahu. And the 24th to Maazayahu. Okay, so I just ran out the 24. I told you, I've been saying 24. And now it's saying the part that you should get. These were the offices in their service of coming into the house of Yahuwah, according to their right ruling by the head of Aharon, their father, as Yahuwah Elohim of Israel had commanded him. These were 24 leaders. 24 leaders. These were their offices of service for coming into the house. These were the ones that went into the temple, the house of Yahuwah. 24. The number means something. This is the leadership, or just like you had the 24 thrones representing the 12 tribes, two people per. You got 24 offices serving and coming into the temple. Temple is kind of relative towards like the throne room of Yah. So you got 24. 24. Just showing the example that that 24 means something. It's significant. Just like the 12 tribes, it's significant. It means something. But of course, again, the way it's written or whatever, sometimes we don't have the patience. We kind of like run through. But his will has always been to establish his kingdom here on earth, his dominion here on earth, kingdom dominion on earth from the beginning. And how he does so, many have issues with. When you look at the tribe that came up out of Yaqub, the tribes that came up out of Yaqub, it took four women. Four women. Many will try to say that polygyny is a sin, but how would Yahuwah use sin in, as his foundation? He can use anything, but why would he use that as his foundation of his kingdom? He established 12 tribes because 12 is significant. 24 is significant because go out two witnesses. Each tribe has two witnesses. Again, I'm not trying to focus on the polygyny or whatever. I'm talking about his will. His will is that we be fruitful and multiply. His will is that we have dominion on earth. And so those things manifesting, something's going to come in the way. Just like in the garden, what came in the way? Sin came in the way. Disobedience came in the way. So now it's necessary to sacrifice. But they weren't, you didn't see any sacrifice going on before they disobeyed because the obedience is greater than sacrifice. But now we're gonna say so if we go to his original will, sacrifice wasn't in there. We go to his original will, clothes were not in there. We go to his original will, yeah, we could say, okay, you're not supposed to eat meat. You're not, but why did he label clean and unclean? And if he knows the end from the beginning, you think that he didn't set provision for that? Just like he set provision for man, he set the vegetation and he set the animals in place before he even set man here. If you want to say order, you would say that the vegetation and the animals are greater than man, but that's not the case. He set those in order. So a lot, just like he knew that man was going to fall, animals became our food. Yeah, no, when we get to the kingdom, there's not going to be no death. No. But as long as we here on this earth where death is there, there's going to be things dying. And just like what we seen, what did he use? Skin to cover them. They had made leaves. If that would suffice, if vegetation would suffice, there would be no need for him to make them skin. So if vegetation is the only thing, I'm going also to the eating. If vegetation would suffice all the time, which you can live on just vegetation, but some people don't have the body makeup where that will do for them. So to put them in sin per se, that's not just. Let them make their choice and let Yah be the decider of their walk. Passover lamb, Yahusha eating fish. You know, why did he take the five fish and loaves? He could have just made bread. He didn't have to make fish for the people, but he did. If it was a sin, why would he even offer? Why would you tell, oh, Peter, catch a net over here? If catching fish is a sin, eating fish is a sin, I'm like, y'all be doing too much. His will be done on earth as is in the Shamayim. Yes, you can say this is my opinion or whatever. Okay, cool. If you listen to this, I thank you. Abba Yah, I thank you for this day, the Shabbat. I pray that your will be done in my life, in this household, and with those that hear this. And I welcome people to chop it up with me, to question, to contend with what I brought forth. Because iron sharpens iron. Reasoning is something that we should do, and we should not be offended when others question what we brought forth. They are only testing the spirit, the ruach that is coming forth. And if it's done in proper way without the insults, without the slander, your will is being done because we come out of that growing. And I thank you, Yah, for those opportunities for me to talk with the brethren, the Akim and the Mishpah, the occultees about your word, because so much of misunderstanding has been our day to day because we had others giving us your word, but now we have become your oracles, and let us continue to teach until you allow your Ruach to teach us, and we no longer have to teach. I thank you for this in Yahuwah's name. Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom. Shankwil Yah. One Vision Ministry. Enjoy your Shabbat. Get some rest in. Nap, nap, nap. Shalom.